Welcome back to Worldview. Now, Malcolm Ginsberg is one of the longest established UK specialist air and business travel journalists. In a lengthy career, he's been a successful public relations practitioner, publisher, and writer, and he specializes in transport and travel. Malcolm launched the award-winning Air and Business Travel News, ABTN, as a weekly electronic publication back in 1997, and he developed it over some 10 years and sold it to Centaur plc, the listed trade show organizer and owner of Marketing Week and Headline Money in 2006. Now, he's back now with a weekly newsletter that is a must-read for those interested in the air transport industry. Business Travel News, or btnews.co.uk. It arrives every Monday morning in my inbox, and indeed Malcolm has allowed UK Progressive magazine to repost his articles over the last 2 years. Malcolm Ginsberg, it's a pleasure to welcome you to Worldview.
It's a pleasure to join you.
Thank you so much. Now, air travel is a hassle to so many of us, but I follow you for every development, and indeed, I remember once changing a reservation based on one of your columns. And I'd like to use our time today to discuss a number of items affecting travel into, through, and around the United Kingdom, as well as around the globe. Now, in your newsletter of today, we read that British Airways is about to receive their first Airbus A380. And you went into some detail saying that this could be the 100th aircraft off the line in Toulouse. Now, how significant is that, and what's this aircraft going to mean to BA's somewhat aging 747-400 fleet?
Well, it's a complete breakthrough for BA. What they've done is they've let other people find the faults in the aircraft, the cracked wings, the other things that you don't hear about. So hopefully the arrival of this aircraft will be very, very smooth. What they're going to do is allow the public to fly on it in July. Now, you're not going to be told when that is. It will suddenly arrive, and it might be a flight from London to Glasgow or somewhere like that, or it might be a long-haul flight. Air France did this quite successfully some years ago with London to Paris. It's a way of getting the crew to say, I've flown on the aircraft, although it was only a 1-hour flight.
Well, that's amazing. I can remember when they also retired Concorde, it came around many of the local airports on short-haul flights to say goodbye. Now, with this aircraft, I mean, I enjoyed it especially. I've made a couple of flights on Singapore Airlines back and forth. How is this? I read in your column that there were going to be some changes and some problems perhaps in how one gets to visit a friend up on the upper deck in the bubble or down below. I understand Club is going to be on both decks?
Yep, they're the only airline in the world that has decided, for whatever reasons, we'll find out in July or in October, they've done this. There's going to be upper deck business class, and there's going to be lower deck Club World as well. Now, there are problems with that. How do they board you? Because as you found out with with Singapore, you as a business class passenger will be boarded separately from the economy class. So one of the problems that BA has had recently with the 747 is rather difficult configuration. So the economy and the business class people mix together. Now, if you're paying twice the fare, 3 times the fare, in fact, you don't want to necessarily mix with the economy. You are paying for an exclusive flight. So there's going to be, it's very interesting. As I said before, they are not the first one. So presumably they've seen what other people would do, and maybe we're in for a surprise.
Well, hopefully we will see much better than some others have had with it. Now let's move on to another aircraft builder that's not had much good news of late. Boeing's had to ground that Dreamliner, and that fleet continues to suffer. What is this grounding going to mean both to Boeing and the carriers that have had orders of this 787 Dreamliner jet?
Well, I cater actually for the business traveller. And for the business traveller, it doesn't really affect us at the moment because we haven't flown on the aircraft. We're not missing anything. The schedules are going as they were before. Yes, 1 or 2 airlines have dropped what they were going to do. But for Boeing and for the airlines, it's very serious, and there's going to have to be a coming together. It's no good the airlines suing Boeing. That's not going to do them any good because Boeing will just charge them more for the parts afterwards. And it's no good Boeing being nasty to the airlines because the airlines are their clients. It really comes down to how long it takes Boeing and the Federal Aviation Authority, who licensed Boeing, to sort these problems out. And until we know when that happens, we really we're not aware of the consequences. It's very, very serious for Boeing at the moment, but at the moment Boeing are saying absolutely nothing. It's nothing to do with them, they say. It's the FAA that's grounded the aircraft. Technically correct.
Right, right. Now, I've carried a few of your articles on the ongoing what to do with airports in and around London, and particularly Heathrow. And runway expansion seems in trouble. What other options do they have there? And what are some of the other options that are on the drawing board for the business traveler flying into and out of London?
Well, quite simply, London is the international centre of the world. This is changing, of course, because Dubai is attempting to overtake it, and it might do, but that's a different sort of traffic. The traffic into Dubai is 80% of connecting traffic. Why do people come to London? Why do they go to Heathrow in spite of its problems? It's because they like the City of London, and they like what England and Wales and Scotland and Ireland, both types, has to offer. That's why they come to the UK. So what happens now is very important to get it right, and it's not going to be easy. 40 years ago, we tried to get it right with a project called MAPLIN. That never took off. The government at the time ran out of money, and this government have put off the decision again on what to do until 2015. The present situation is that we have 3, even 4 major airports around London. Heathrow, the world's largest international airport and 3rd biggest in the world, 17 million passengers. We've got Gatwick, 35 million passengers. We've got Stansted, which did get to 25, is now down to 17. It'll drop this year and then come back slowly. So that's an important airport. We've got Luton, 10 million passengers, mainly holiday traffic. But these are all within 25, 30 miles of London. And then you've got 2 smaller airports, London City, very important for the business traveller. Super little airport to use, no question about that. And you can fly to New York, and that's a developing airfield. They're going to have some new runways quite shortly, and an aircraft that can operate the C series aircraft from Bombardier, that might be able to operate non-stop to New York. And finally, Southend, which is a little regional airport, but will do 1 million passengers this year. So the what's on offer for the public and the business traveller is quite good. The problem is for the future, and again, London seems to be keeping ahead of Paris, which is a leisure airport, and Frankfurt. People don't actually want to go to Frankfurt, they connect through Frankfurt, and likewise Amsterdam. I actually think that the UK will do quite well over the next few years, but there is a problem with Heathrow, and I can go into more details by saying it is possible to put probably another 30 million passengers through the airport as it's set up. Then you have the problems of transport and everything else into the airport.
Exactly, and it's not getting any easier, sure. And speaking of airports, across the United Kingdom, here in Wales, we've over the last 4 years watched Cardiff Airport bleed out almost completely. They've lost some 700,000 passengers. They're just over a million passenger airport, and it's such a shame. Mostly lost to Bristol, 90 minutes away, and it appears that the Welsh government's about to take control of that airport. What will that mean for its future?
Well, it depends on how good the Welsh governments are and how much they're allowing the managers of the airport to do a proper job. If they get in good managers, not civil servants, people that are really working for the airport and perhaps have a share in the airport. We know here in the United Kingdom there's a company called John Lewis. It gives its staff benefits, 17%,
Exactly.
I think.
17% in the most recent year.
Yeah. So if you work for John Lewis, your customer comes in and we want to sell him the thing, you want to be happy. This could be done at an airport as well, perhaps as an incentive, because the problem with the airports that have been run by councils is that they don't actually work particularly well. If the council, in the case of Manchester, is a good example, allows the airport to really get up and really work at it, then it does succeed. But what must not happen is for the council to get too deeply involved with the day-to-day running of the airport.
And we've seen a couple of failed efforts in terms of business development trying to attract business to Wales, so it does not particularly bode well. We'll see what's in store for the future here. Malcolm Ginsberg, thank you for joining us here on Worldview. Malcolm Ginsberg is the editor and publisher of Business Travel News. It's really one of the best tools out there to keep track of the aviation industry, and it can be found at www.btnews.co.uk. Coming up next on Worldview, I'll visit Warwick University in Coventry, England, to speak about the impact of social media on the Arab Spring and other broader revolutions. You're watching Worldview with Dennis Campbell. Stay right here.